to The Good, the Bad, and the Gruesome. I'm here tonight with the cast and directors of the new horror comedy, WJHC AM, about a lonesome radio DJ who finds himself working at a southern gospel radio station on the brink of Y2K. Now, as many of you may remember, there were a lot of religious fanatics who thought this was going to be the second coming. Now, whether that comes to fruition is for you, the viewer, to find out. But for now, I'm going to interview this wonderfully talented set of individuals. Thank y'all all so much for being with me tonight. I think we're gonna have a lot of fun. So since we are at a wrestling match right now, I thought it would be appropriate for me to start out with a wrestling question. Is there a correlation between horror and the wrestling world, or is this just a really fun genre to work in?
Let me take this. Me and Funkmaster V here, my name's Big Luke. Me and Funkmaster V here started as professional wrestlers together about 7 or 8 years ago, where we met each other, and we started producing wrestling television, and that's where we kind of found out, you know, where the climb went from television to bad television, even worse television, to
awful television,
to movies.
Yes.
And we found that when we wanted to find actors and everything, the best place to pick them out of, especially for the horror genre, is professional wrestling, because they're physical, they're already acting, and also used to one take. They're used to facial expressions, because when you're in a wrestling ring, you gotta get your facial expressions so the people 100 feet away can see. So on a television camera, that works even better, where they can tone it down and be a little bit more of the personality. So I found professional wrestlers, comedians, tend to be the best place to find actors for independent movies.
Comedians too. Yeah,
I just said comedians.
I've been a wrestling and a horror movie fan my entire life. I know Mike has. I know some of these guys have, and I think it's just a great coincidence that horror movie fans are also a lot of wrestling fans. We've been to a lot of conventions and stuff where it's odd to see, like, you know, scream queens and all these people also on the same card as wrestlers, and it was just an easy choice to, when we started filming this and putting it together. Oh, who likes horror movies? Wrestlers.
Well, when you're talking about professional wrestling and horror, like this right here, Total Psychopathic Wrestling, is something that started a long time ago. We get all these crazy people out here, but sometimes it's separated. Like, we get 500,000 people have watched this on YouTube. And then I got like 62,000 people who watch me on my show, Hack's Horror Show, and those fans are separated. Some of them, the wrestling fans know me from wrestling, the horror fans know me from horror. And then you get that nice blend. Your best fans, like that demographic, that demo you're going after with horror fans, they are the people buying tickets to this show. They're the ones buying the DVDs, stuff like that. It's a nice blend, and all of them are the best, wrestling fan and horror fan alike.
I really like how you work with the target demographic in there, because it's not just part of, like, what y'all are doing, it's the audience that you're trying to captivate.
Yes, and the audience, if you want to reach, you got the nice blend of it there. Like, if you talk to most of these wrestlers back here, you will see horror tattoos all over them, or like when you're talking about the conventions. I'm doing conventions all over the country, and all of them come up and they either want to, like, hold the belt or something like that.
Lick the belt.
Yes, lick it. Yeah, you gotta stop doing that, dude. You gotta stop doing it.
I just also want to say, and let's not forget the comedians.
Okay, so what makes a good horror movie is always a good guy and a bad guy. The only thing that makes wrestling is a good guy and a bad guy.
What a good, well, this guy, he's supposed to have a brain injury, and he's got the best answer of everything.
So, this is a Vinny question.
Oh.
You've said that this movie is based on your time employed at an actual gospel radio station, and the majority of the main characters are based on people that you knew while you were working there. But throughout the movie, your character is trying to work towards something more than the bland radio evangelists that are working there. But you have these shows in the movie, like Cutting Tongues, and there's a live snake in one of them, and that's a lot spicier than what you would normally expect.
Right.
So I'm sure you didn't see any of that. What fictional radio show would you like to have seen while you worked there?
You guys will, if you watch the movie, you'll be the only thing that we made up. Now, we took scenes and we cranked it up to 11, but the only scene we made up is the snake handling scene.
Really?
Yes.
But there is a snake handling church within 5 miles of where we're
But they
sitting
do not.
at.
I don't. They wouldn't have. The radio station that this movie is based on would not. I don't think let them to come into the thing. I think the cutting tongues, the handkerchief, the guy keep going through the Bible, and he'd say turn to Psalms, and when everybody's turning, he goes turn to King of the Song of Solomon's. Okay, and then the guy who got like pissed off at a lady at a Piggly Wiggly happened. The people that would throw. They wouldn't do fireballs like Street Fighter, but they would sit there and do that, and people would be like, hubba, 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 and they'd fall down and stuff. And so when we're making this movie, Travis and I'm directing, and Luke is directing these people, our fucking extras are right here, and like, hey, act like this. And Travis, what are they doing? And I'm like, have you never seen this stuff before? You know, something there, baby. I took care of that for you. I'll charge you later. But anyway, I was like, hey, have you never seen this? And Travis like, what are they doing? Like when they're lifting the hands and speaking. I was like, man, that's what these churches are like.
Tracy, your character was by far my favorite, and you absolutely killed it. Nancy is a Jesus-loving, extremely pregnant, chain-smoking woman who's absolutely done with everything and everyone. And this movie's primarily a comedy, though, but you just have this deadpan face through all of these hilarious scenes. What is going through your mind when you have to look at Jack Lowe Jr., you know, doing what he's doing and all of those other ridiculous things?
I very much had to put my brain into what Nancy would have been feeling and what Nancy would have been thinking. And I just firmly, it was like meditation on somebody else's mindset for like 3 to 5 minutes at a time. But it was just very much like inhabiting. The woman's husband left her. She's hugely pregnant. She's smoking like a train wreck because like she just can't cope with these people. And she probably goes home and she looks longingly at the whiskey bottles and she's like, I want it so bad. But she can't because she's pregnant. She's like hating this child but also like carrying it because it's the only thing left of her husband. And she's just angry and sad. Yeah, I thought about the whole thing.
This is a Vinny, Luke, and Travis question.
Woo!
Apocalypse, because it entangles in the hike. Apocalypse and zombie movies are generally pretty gory, but since this was in black and white, y'all had a lot of leeway to disguise the special effects and what the blood was made of. Did y'all use different special effects materials in this movie rather than what you did in the hike?
Yes.
Yes. In the hike, we used
Willow,
who used Caro syrup and food coloring. A lot of the blood and the effects and stuff, like with black and white, we knew we could get away with things like a plastic hand actually looks like a real hand. You know, you could hide a lot in black and white. And the black and white was I've always wanted to do a black and white movie because I'm in love with Clerks, and I wanted to do a different Clerks, and this is obviously a very different Clerks, but
it's like a Wizard of Oz too.
Yeah, but I always liked black and white, but finding out how much you could hide was cool because
I'll tell you, we used video effects for blood. We used actual fake blood like we used in the hike. We used pieces of red paper. So we used a lot of different things to kind of our advantage to make it look like it was all bloody and stuff.
As far as special effects go, I have very limited. This is the second movie I've ever done with Luke and Vinny, and it was a blast. And doing it in black and white, I was so worried about a lot of things, and I kind of more got the idea of like to kind of trust them and trust their vision, because black and white scared me because I was like, man, everything's gonna look so bad, everything's gonna look weird. Our death scene, I was super worried about how cheesy it was gonna look because it was just Michael and Houston just standing over Luke and I just going like this. And then the movie came out and I was like, that looked really good. And Vinny was like, that's because it was in black and white. And I was like, got it. And then it all made sense.
Vinny.
Hi, beautiful.
Your exchange with Arlo, where he consistently misunderstands your name, ends in the joke on your movie, My Cousin Vinny, where he becomes briefly convinced that you're a member of the Mafia.
Yes.
Now, given that Arlo is the only main character who's not based on a real person, did you add him for the comedic value of the stereotypical confusion and gullibility of stoners, Or was he the friend that you wish you had while you were employed at that radio station?
Well, I wish I had a friend at that station, yes. Well, the reason Arlo was created is because Luke needed a role. And so there was an engineer always around, but the engineer was like an old white guy. Now, he was different than everybody else, but he was just your typical old whitey guy that would be like, we need to make sure the transmitter's down to 3.65 or whatever, and he'd leave. And but so like, it was his chance also to flex some comedy muscle, because what we're finding is we think people know us from Wrestling with Ghosts and all our comedy stuff, like Hey Louise and all, and people are like, we had no idea that Luke was so funny. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he was like, well, in the hike, he was just such a serious thing. And I'm like, have you not seen anything else we've ever done? So it was good to have the whole thing. And in fact, his whole speech about where he kept misunderstanding my name, when you are named Vinny in the South, that's every day. Lenny? No, Vinny. Denny? No. Benny? No. Like my cousin Vinny. Oh, I like that movie. So, I mean, that was every conversation when I met somebody for years.
Luke.
What?
This guy.
So, Arlo gives a secret a little about halfway into the movie about why he's probably not going to get into heaven.
Yes.
How did that story come?
Dude, it's so good. This is
so
the
good.
best. We were,
Wish Amber was here.
Vinny asked me
wish
that
he was
exact
here. Yeah.
same question while we were on the set. And so I was like, all right.
And let me say, the reason it was important was because we didn't want, he's gay in the movie, and we didn't want people to think, well, we're saying that all gay people go to hell, because we didn't want that to be the implication. So it's like, you've got to do something bad.
So I won't spoil what it was that it is, but I'm real good at quick thinking, improv.
Great.
And I can write things on the spot. If something goes wrong, we lose a prop or we lose an actress, I can change something and we can film it within 5 minutes. I'm pretty good at that.
Good.
But I sat there and said, okay, what I really want to do is throw a swerve. I want to go with the Leviticus thing. And I said, but what I really did was this. One of the producers, Pat, Perfect Pat, who's also plays the preacher that throws the rag around, laughed like a seal.
He did.
He said, "Arr! Arr!"
It was
And so we were like, okay,
Like,
we're going to leave
Well,
that in.
That's in the movie.
bolting.
Yeah.
I've known that guy for 10 years, and I've never seen him laugh. And so when he said the punchline to the scene, honky, 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 and we were like,
Holy.
and we were all sitting there going,
Yeah.
all right, that's a
That's
killer.
That's it.
That's
We're
in the
leaving
movie.
that one in. That's a
And
good
I'm
one.
glad we did, because that's
I got a big
from
laugh.
from the hike, from the first movie. I get a lot of people that are like, hey, who's ready for some bestiality? And they yell that one line at me. That I'm glad that we put that joke in there. And then in this movie, I get all the people will just message me,
Yeah.
and I'll just, all right, I own it. I will tell you, to get the character of Arlo down, me and this guy went to Chicago, where marijuana is legal, and he doesn't partake. He's a teetotaler. He doesn't, and I don't either. I haven't smoked marijuana in a long time. So we went to watch WrestleMania at this guy Vito Tomaselli's house with a bunch of professional wrestlers, and I got stoned. And I remembered so much about that character, or what I could use for the character, because there's things that I forgot about being stoned, like when you're talking, but then you realize you're not talking, or then you're talking to somebody else, but you're also having another conversation with nobody over here, and then you just stop and you're like, am I talking? So I was like, man, am I talking? Once I'm doing this, I'm getting a Thor tattoo on my arm, a Mjolnir tattoo on my arm,
Hi.
and I'm stoned. And Vinny's, and they says, hey man, this doesn't have the bottom of the handle on it. What do you want to make it? And Vinny goes, make it a dick. So it's a dick. And that made it into the movie. So
the guy Brandon Tomaselli was like,
all right, she's a dick.
Luke saw Isaac making a dick. And so we put that in the movie. That's one of my favorite lines.
And
in
I
the
will,
movie.
said I'm perfectly happy with the rest of my life having a deniable and subliminal dick on my arm. So I'm fine with it.
You're weird.
It's a long-term joke.
I never knew it was a dick. I always thought, I was like, that looks like a dick, but I love Luke. So I wasn't gonna be rude and be like,
I took advantage of it.
But Vinny was like, it was one of those things when he said it, when we were sitting there and he said it, it was almost like he didn't want to say it because he knew I was going to do it. It was like, make it a dick.
Yeah.
And me in perfect Arlo, pre-Arlo form, I went, yeah, I'm gonna get a dick, man.
And then that's Arlo.
Well, I didn't really mean to get stoned at that party. We walked in there. There was these banana breads. There's these loaves of banana bread sitting around, and I start eating one, and then this woman walks in and goes, "You didn't eat that whole thing, did you?" I was like, "Yeah." I'm like, oh, well, and that's how that happened.
That was a wild weekend.
He loves banana bread.
Travis.
Yes.
Jack Lowe Jr. is wildly entertaining in his apparent perversion and seemingly coming on to every person he encounters. When Vinny pitched this character to you, did you add any quirks to his personality or improvised dialogue that would make him seem creepier, or was the constant caressing of yourself just part of the script already?
So when Vinny pitched this movie to me, he took me out to eat at a Mexican market gas station that I had never been in, never heard of.
It's nice of him.
Big spender.
Yeah, we didn't go to Olive Garden or anything. We went to a gas station, and we read the script together. And every time I would go to do a line for Jack, he would go, "No, make it weirder." And I would read it weirder, and he would go, "No, breathe out of your nose when you talk and make it weirder." And I was like, "I can't." Okay. And then I would read it again, and he would go, "You're almost there." And then I'd read it again. He went, "That's it right there. Do that the whole movie." And I was like, "Vinny, this is weird." And he was like, "No, that's what we need. That's it right there." And then the caressing thing. I never met him, but Vinny informed me that I play he's a real person. And I asked Vinny, I was like, "Can I meet him? Like introduce me to him so I can meet him?" And he went, "No, he's dead." And I was like, "All right, cool. Now I'm playing a weird, perverted dead man." And this stroking thing, Vinny would go, we'd be on set and Vinny would go, "Do that line again, but hold that pencil like a penis." All right.
Stroke the thermos.
And he would go, all right, when you read this one, upside down, caress your hand against the computer, which is the weirdest acting direction I've ever received in my life. As far as, I think it's fun. They get bestiality yelled at them and stuff. We did the premiere. Nobody said a word to me before the premiere other than, "Oh, it's nice to meet you, Travis." "Oh, yeah, yeah." After the premiere, I got "How you doing?" like 19 times.
How you doing?
And I was very happy that was the line.
That's a good
that
scene.
got
That was a complete. That was an ad lib. That thing was hilarious.
You killed it on that.
I'm happy that was the line that got and not like
my favorite line that you do
literally
is
anything else.
"Ooh,
that
wait
I
for
said
me."
The entire movie.
when you come running out of the house,
Wait for me.
"Ooh, wait for me."
We had a bag of, was it coconut oil or something,
Yeah.
that Amber would do my hair. This is when I had longer hair, and we called it the sleaze bag. That's what we called it. It was on set, and it was just this gross, greasy crap that they would put in my hair. My hair that I loved very much at the time, before I shaved it, and it was just this crusty. And I remember it before I knew it was in black and white. I was like, "This is gonna look weird on camera," and then in black and white, it just looks slimy all the time. And I was terrified of what my mother would think of me in this movie. And she is yet to watch.
Yeah. Oh, I gotta get her a copy.
No.
Incredibly entertaining.
Thank you.
You said that this movie was shot in black and white to emphasize the set of the 90s feel. However, I feel like the lack of color really puts emphasis on the dialogue rather than relying on entertainment from visual effects. I noticed a lot of little things though, like the Mary-Kate and Ashley 18th birthday countdown plot.
The last thing added to the movie.
Yeah, that was the last joke put in.
So, while viewers may get wrapped up in the dialogue, what are some little Easter eggs or comedic props that people should keep an eye out for?
Well, with all these movies that we're doing 6 movies about the Smoky Mountains, and they're all vastly different. They're all going to have central themes and MacGuffins and like Easter eggs. Like, for example, in the first movie, that you see this kind, elderly, chubby, jolly, drunk forest ranger, and he loves this little skunk, and the skunk's not giving him enough attention, and so he kicks the effing skunk. There's a comedic noise. He looks at it and he just goes, "Moron," like he's calling a skunk a moron after he kicks it 30 yards, and he drinks. And so in this movie, I go to the bathroom. There's a I Love Jesus picture on the wall with a skunk. And as I'm listening to Sister Christian screw up her radio spot, I just sit there and look at the skunk, just go moron. So I mean, there's a lot of those things that we do that are like little MacGuffins that you can.
Well,
look for in all movies.
there's Easter eggs for movies we haven't made yet in this movie.
So there's things that people won't even know.
Yeah, there's a scene where the third or probably the second lead of the next movie is actually an inanimate object. It's a teddy bear, and that teddy bear is going to be the whole movie, but it's actually, and you'll never find it, but it's in WJHC.
I saw it.
Did you see it? Ah, you saw it.
Yeah, we purposely hid it somewhere for it to be seen. The necklace from the hikes in the movie. There's a radio broadcast talking about something happening at Camp Smokey, which is the next movie.
There's a robot in this movie, and our fourth movie is about a robot.
Since we're on the topic of little things, is there anything that y'all wanted to add that made it to the feature film?
There's a scene at the end of the movie that I was very proud of that I had nothing to do with other than being like, hey, that should happen. And Vinny went, we should do, and it was in the movie, was this end of the movie when Spaceman Jones as Jesus puts his hand on your shoulder, and I was like, hey, he should heal your thing.
That was a great thing.
And Vinny went, he should heal my thing. And it was in the movie, and it felt really cool.
That almost makes me emotional just thinking about it.
Yeah, it felt really cool to be the one that spit out that idea, and it like snowballed into, and now it's in the movie.
It was really an effing great point because it was, to me, I mean, people think this movie's sacrilegious, but to me, if Jesus was around and saw somebody bleeding, the whole world is falling to pieces, he'd still be like, I mean, look at you, I think he'd fix you up, man. See, those people all agree, man. Hallelujah.
I'll praise.
Praise it.
Thank you.
That's one of the questions we got a lot was about, you know, where the people were saying is make fun of religion. We've got that online, some of our reviews, things like that. But if you watch the movie, it's a story of redemption.
Yeah.
It's actually a very deeply pro-God movie.
Yeah. Does anybody else got anything they want to add?
Yes. In that, I played a very, very small part, Brother Rufus. And they told me about it, and I went everywhere to find exactly, I had this idea about what he was going to be in my head. I was like, salmon color shirt, Garfield shirt on, these corduroy pants, all this stuff, and thought of all this. I couldn't wait. So I love the movie that it's in black and white, but at first I was like, oh no, because I spent so much time on just that color palette for what I was wearing.
You look great in real life, though.
Yeah, it is.
You looked wonderful.
The black and white thing, I was like...
You were the third best looking guy in that room.
But I always tell people that I'm the world's greatest kazoo player. And my favorite kazoo got to do a cameo in the film, so get my kazoo in the movie.
How did that even happen? Like,
I
every time I watch it...
threw it, said, hey, I have a kazoo in my pocket.
Every time I see that scene, I see the kazoo flying and it lands, it stops perfectly. I'm like, who had a fucking kazoo on set? I didn't see that.
Yes.
So I had my crocheted penis, my smaller one, in my bag, in the set bag. Yes.
That's still about 7.5. That's
giant
still
one that actually houses my black foam roller.
Smaller one. That thing was 12 inches long, wasn't it?
This is for all of you. What is one reason why people should watch this movie?
If you like things like Clerks, if you like comedy, Evil Dead is a very big influence on this. But what it is there hasn't been any really good comedies lately. Like, it's either gross out comedies or slapstick easy or romantic comedies. There hasn't been any really good comedy movies. This one has got some laughs out of people. I mean, I've seen people laugh at this movie, like, and people even messaged me. I had to stop the movie and rewind it because I was laughing so hard I didn't want to miss the next thing. And you don't get that anymore unless you're watching Impractical Jokers. You know, you don't get just stupid laughs. And this movie gives you 5 or 6, maybe even 8 just stupid laughs.
Tracy, what do you think?
I think that everybody should watch this film. I think that everybody should watch my movie because My mama's in it.
Your mom.
And my daddy's in it.
And that scene was great too.
And that scene was hilarious. My mom got her finger cut off, bit off.
Yeah.
And my father couldn't keep a straight face while we were filming it.
So I'm not gonna lie, I was really scared about my parents watching this movie. I come from like a super religious background, and I was like, oh God, they're gonna think it's sacrilegious, they're gonna be offended, but my mom was laughing her freaking butt off at Vinny, most of his quotes, and Luke, and I was just amazed by it. Like, I thought it was so funny, and the fact that my parents even enjoyed it, like, I think everybody should watch it, even if you're a Christian. Like, I think it's kind of important to see, like, how those kind of like cult-like mentalities and religious mentalities that they have, maybe they're going about it wrong.
Well,
they're not reaching anybody now.
That's something that will be missed by people watching the movie and not knowing us. Is like me and Vinny, and most of us, very Christian people. We're not. I don't go to. I used to go to church. You used to go to church. She goes to church.
I
think
go
you go
to church every week,
but
and I invite you morons every week, and nobody ever comes.
We all have like a personal relationship with God that's not a public relationship with God.
That's exactly right.
And I think this is the way that we kind of have put out there our views on why people don't go to church.
That's exactly right, man.
Because of all the tomfoolery, instead of just what essentially happens at the end is how I think it's supposed to go. Your personal journey ends with redemption by the man. And I think that if we point out the minutia without making fun of it, all the stupidity that should not happen in churches, and the piousness of people, and a lot of the hypocrisies of people were pointed out, especially in the end scene where you see some of the big religious people are still haven't been raptured. They're still because they had their own vices that prevented them from being raptured.
I think it's a movie that makes you think. It's funny. There's enough comedy in it that I feel like it would get people who aren't horror movie fans through it. There's enough horror in it that I feel like it would get people who aren't comedy fans through it. Also, the whole aspect of the religious, that's what, if I wasn't in this movie, that's what would captivate me, is the thought that we've already talked about, is these things are really happening in the world. There's really cults, there's really people that are religious they claim to be religious that aren't in themselves religious. There's snake charming, there's weird tongue people. These things really happen. And that scarred me. I'm not kidding. I didn't know that was a thing.
Did you ever go look on YouTube and see?
I did after, and I was shocked at the amount of stuff that I saw that I was like, this is in the movie.
Yeah.
Vinny didn't make this up.
No.
But I just think there's something in it for everybody. There's horror, there's comedy, there's people like campy independent films. That's exactly what we are and what we've always have been. I think there's a little bit of something in it for everybody. It's a good reason to watch it.
Agreed.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for flying out from Texas.
Of course, I love you guys.